I heard your little slip talk, Stephen A. Smith, about Kevin Durant. Man, you gonna have to get off my boy KD. Why are you still mad because he left for Golden State? What's there to be mad about? What, you mad because he's averaging a career high in rebounds, career high in blocks, a career high in field goal percentage? You mad because he's still getting 26 points on just 17 shots? Stop all that nonsense, Stephen A. Smith. You're gonna have to put some respect on Kevin Durant's name before this year over with.
Joining us now is our second First Take Your Take contest winner. We just saw him talking some serious trash, and we loved what we saw. He's traveled all the way from Miami, and now he gets to take on Stephen A. and Max. We welcome in Mikal Goodman. So good to have you.
Stephen A., how's it going, Max?
Thank you so much for being here with us. You
awesome.
Ready?
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Super excited. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for the opportunity.
Yes, let's work, people.
I won't mess with you. You know, you look good. You know what I'm saying? Look a little nervous. It's all right.
Can you say this, gentleman?
Oh, you say my name. You can say Blovier. You say, you know.
In the pocket square, we can talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, give that.
He looks clean. Leave him alone.
I'm going to hook it up. I'm going to hook it up for him. You know, I was going to hook him up.
He's getting over the flu. I wouldn't give that to him.
He's trying to mess with your head. We know
Not
what
at
this
all.
is.
Not at all. Not at all.
All right, so we saw Kevin Durant and the Warriors dominate the Cavs Monday night by 35 points, and they own the Thunder in Durant versus Westbrook 1. Tonight we get the rematch at Oracle. It's going to be good. The Warriors are cruising at the top of the West at 35-6. Mikal, I want to start with you. Does this season prove Durant made the right move?
Well, first off, I want to say I don't mind Durant leaving for Golden State. I think it's good for the NBA. I like super teams. I think it's good for the fans, for the ones who want to cheer for the super teams and the ones who want to root against them. Mm-hmm. As far as Kevin Durant leaving, he's the alpha male on that team right now. He went to a team full of all-stars, and he's the alpha male on Golden State right now. Averaging a career high or averaging 26 points per game, a career high in rebounds, 8.7, a career high in blocks. He's leading the team in blocks. He's leading the team in field goal percentage. He's upped his assists from 3.7 last year to 4.7 this year. Mm-hmm. Statistically, all his stats have increased. He didn't just go on Golden State, Stephen A., to be a part of the team. He went to show and prove his worth, show and prove that he's the alpha, show and prove that his leadership and his inspiration to get better as a player and as a teammate has elevated Golden State to even higher goals this year. Obviously, he made the right decision if they win. They got to win, right? They got to win the chip, and they got to win this year. If he loses this year, there's going to be a mark on his legacy. But if he does what he's doing right now during the season, which is dominating, statistically, leading that team in majority of the categories, and he does that in the playoffs, and he does that in the finals, because we all know he's going to have to face his nemesis, LeBron James. He does this against LeBron James and brings home the championship. Just one championship, in my opinion, validates his decision.
That's wrong, because you can't reverse engineer greatness. Now, had he wouldn't even been able to join the team had they won the championship. That had been the 73-win team that also wins the championship, and now you're going to join? No. But they didn't win the championship, so that gave him an opening to join the team. But a championship this year validates LeBron James more than anyone else, because what it says is a 73-win, unbeatable, greatest half-court offense team in the history of basketball wasn't enough to beat LeBron James. So the best player not named LeBron James on earth had to join that team just to maybe overcome LeBron James. If anything, that further validates LeBron's status. But when I say reverse engineer, what I mean is, being the best player on a championship team, validates your greatness. Therefore, I'll take a team that's already basically a championship team. They won 1 2 years ago. They got to a Game 7, very close at home last year. And by virtue of the fact that I'll be the best player on that team, that'll make me great in a new way. No, he's also not the alpha male on that team. He is the best player. The alpha is actually Draymond right now in terms of personality. One of the problems on Golden State is that neither Steph nor Kevin Durant in crunch time in the finals or deep in the playoffs has shown that alpha quality. That's partly what seems to be missing. So Kevin Durant doesn't prove anything by going to Golden State, even if he wins this year, other than, damn, it takes a lot to get by LeBron James if he has a squad.
Let me get back to this man. Mikal. Is that right? Is that right? Mikal. Did I get that right? Not Mike, not McDonald, not Mike, Mikal. Okay, let me get this straight. Before I even get into all of this, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You love basketball.
Yep.
You know basketball.
Yep.
You love competition.
Yep.
It's important to you.
Yep.
Right? You because the theater of it all, it matters. Let's analyze Kevin Durant. I want to be on the record. Because I need to, I'm gonna do a Max Kellerman here. I'm gonna regurgitate and stuff. You know what I'm saying? To make sure.
You're gonna win an argument? Is that what it means?
I do that every day. But the point that I'm trying to make is, I'm gonna make sure that I make sure, hedge myself a little bit. Here's the deal. Kevin Durant's one of the top 2 players in the world. Kevin Durant is a superstar. I don't recall that ever being questioned before he went to Golden State. So when we talk about validation, it's certainly not validation about his qualifications, his talent. Where the validation comes in is whether or not you're going to end up a champion and how that comes to be. We got plenty of champions throughout NBA history who have ridden coattails en route to capturing the title. Now, he's not doing that now because he never does it during the regular season. A matter of fact, I'm willing to tell you he never does it during the playoffs. Kevin Durant is good for 30. Kevin Durant, when they lost in the finals, averaged 30 on better than 50% shooting. Yep. But when the moment arose against LeBron and the Miami Heat, Macau, what happened? APB was out for this brother. Now, we fast forward to last year. I have no problem with Kevin Durant leaving. That has never been my issue. You want to leave Oklahoma City? You gave 9 great years to that franchise. You were the man. You were the alpha, even though Russell got an alpha mentality in terms of efficiency. You were the alpha if you're Kevin Durant. Here's the problem. That same alpha dude, because Macau knows basketball, right? What happened to Kevin Durant game 6?
10 for 31.
Don't give me numbers, because it ain't just about numbers. I'm talking about moments. I'm talking about you, Kevin Durant, Mr. Efficient, all of a sudden jacking up 1-on-3 shots, rushing shots, doing things that were uncharacteristic for him to do. They blow the game to the point where you had cats, even like yourself, who had to admit it looked like a choke job. Game 7 at Golden State. I was there courtside. What happens? He sits up there and waits how long, Max, to get aggressive? And we were saying, where the hell is Kevin Durant?
Late in the 4th quarter.
So all of that background, Macau, I just gave you. You turn around and a month later, you go to the very same team that happened against, who happened to be 73-9 and reigning NBA champions when you disappeared in key moments of the last 2 games after being up 3-1. How do you explain that?
Well, look, I love the fact how you gloss over that Kevin Durant has another top 4 player on his team. So let's go to the Western Conference Finals. Let's go to those games.
Sure.
Okay, where was Russell Westbrook in game 5, 6, and 7? Russell Westbrook led that team in the Western Conference Finals in turnovers. Mm-hmm. Not only was he a turnover machine, he also, in game 7, since you want to bring up game 7, so do you, Max? The man shot 2 for 3 in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
So how y'all guys destroyed LeBron James against the Dallas Mavericks for not showing up in the 4th quarter? Mm-hmm. Where was Russell Westbrook? Where was that aggression? What was going on?
Is that a rhetorical question, or do I get to answer?
I mean, I want to know. Because you fail to always bring it up.
No. I never. You know why I don't bring it up? Because you didn't listen to me the first time. Because if you rewind that clock, you go, because I know you TiVo the show too. You don't just watch your TiVo. That's why you're here, because you're going to memorize everything I said. You will recall that I specifically got into a debate with Max about my definition of choking. My definition of choking is not somebody who doesn't get it done in crunch time. It's somebody that deviates from what we've normally come to expect from them when crunch time arrives. So that Russell Westbrook that you pointed to is a Russell Westbrook we've been watching for his whole career.
Not showing up in the 4th quarter?
No, I just finished.
Okay, not showing up in the 4th quarter?
That doesn't answer his point.
Yes, it does.
Well,
it does.
What you're saying is that by your definition, which I think is a strange one in this case, Russell Westbrook didn't choke because he normally doesn't play well in those situations. Macau's point seems to me to be, correct me if I'm wrong, that whatever the circumstances, whatever Russell Westbrook normally does, the fact is the number 2 player who Kevin Durant was playing with played very poorly when Durant needed a crime partner.
But what I'm saying to y'all, and I'm glad y'all brought this up, because this is basketball and I want to explain this thoroughly. What I am saying is that with a Russell Westbrook, he has been notorious turning the ball over, making ill-advised decisions, not, taking ill-advised shots or not taking shots at all at times during these crunch moments throughout his career, because he was the second wheel to Kevin Durant and he didn't seem to know when to amp it up, when to step back. That is a consistent complaint throughout the first 8 years of Russell Westbrook's career. So the problems that he brought to the table, we expected. Once with Durant, we didn't expect that.
So we expect.
I'm saying that's
the number
what
4 player in the league, perennial all-star, one of the greatest talents and athletes, and y'all guys have said that we've ever seen on the basketball court. We expect him to shoot it 3 times in the fourth quarter in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. That's what we expect. I just want to make sure that that's what we expect.
Yes, because to me the biggest issue, the biggest issue is Game 6, because Game 6 was on your home floor.
Okay,
it was on your home. No, it's not just that it was on your home floor. It's that what we came to expect from Kevin Durant, because remember, rumors were he might be leaving. Adrian Wojnarowski for Yahoo had reported that he might go to Golden State. We were hearing all of these things. And so as a result of that, you wanted to see, and like you said, had Golden State won, then Kevin Durant could not have gone, because it would have really looked like he's jumping on a bandwagon.
I want to hear the answer to that, to my point. Which is that Kevin Durant here is trying to reverse engineer his greatness. Oh, greatness means you're the best player on a championship team. That team's just about championship. I'll put him over the top. That'll prove that I'm great.
So let me ask you this. Sure. Did LeBron reverse engineer his greatness when he went and teamed up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh?
You could argue
he was already great.
You could argue he did at the next level, although you could also argue he never had enough around him before that. He had to take matters into his own hands. If you look at the Oklahoma City team that Durant just left, you could argue they did have enough. Were Durant up to the occasion?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So LeBron, before going to Miami, didn't have enough. But when he got to Miami, he had D Wade and Chris Bosh. Just like before in Oklahoma City, yes, Durant had Westbrook and he had some pieces around him. They didn't get it done. So now he elevated his game, went to the next level as far as superstars around him. And I say he's the alpha male because he is dominating statistically on a team with Steph Curry, 2-time MVP, Draymond Green, and so on and so forth.
Something I want you to think about for when you come back. The reason why I do look at Kevin Durant's situation different than LeBron is because when LeBron went to Miami and Chris Bosh came and Dwayne Wade came, none of them had played together. And there was still a Boston Celtics with KG, Ray Allen, Rondo, Paul Pierce, and Kendrick Perkins in the starting 5 that had never lost a playoff series because they kept getting hurt. When they were on the floor together, they had never lost. Whereas in Golden State, Kevin Durant is joining a team already together. So he just has to.
No, that's what degrees, not.
We can talk about it. We'll talk about it. But I want you to think about that.
Let me say, you got these guys hot, holding your own. Great point. Yes, you did. Looking forward to when you come back. Up next, after dropping 11 of 13, Phil Jackson and Carmelo had a little QT together. Melo reaffirming to Phil Jackson today that he wants to remain with the Knicks and win with them, according to the New York Daily News. So, Stephen A., Melo turns 33 in May. So, obviously, his championship window is closing. What's your reaction to their latest meeting?
Well, I think the reports are not entirely accurate. That's number one. By the way, getting back to Dez, when he didn't make that catch, it was 4 minutes and 34 seconds left on the clock. So that's how much time Aaron Rodgers
scored twice in that.
I just want to make sure I just throw that out.
Aaron Rodgers put up 16 points in that.
Let it go.
Now let me get back to Melo. Now let me get back to Melo. Melo met with Phil Jackson yesterday. Melo's going to say that Melo wants to remain a Knick. I believe that Phil Jackson is going to convince him ultimately to waive that no-trade clause. I believe whether it's before the trading deadline or this summer, in the end, I believe that at the latest, Carmelo Anthony will be gone from the New York Knicks at the latest by this summer. Possibly by next month, definitely by this summer. This is it for Melo, and it should be. I'm hoping that Phil Jackson has talked some sense into Melo to waive that no-trade clause, get the hell out of New York, because Phil is a problem. Phil is not a solution. The 11-time championship coach is nowhere to be found as an executive. And the fact is that Carmelo Anthony has been taking a brunt of the blame. I'm highly disgusted with Melo that he's put himself in a position where he gets to take all of this heat while Phil gets to get absolved. Because as far as I'm concerned, Joakim Noah, do you realize that Jeff Hornacek is talking about benching Joakim Noah? Joakim Noah is in the first year of a 4-year, $72 million deal.
Dumbest contract given out in the offseason.
4 years, $72 million. Keep this in mind, Molly and Max. Not only is that, but he also sat up there and relegated Courtney Lee to the bench, saying we needed some more offensive punch off the bench only to not play Courtney Lee in the second half, where Courtney Lee goes out and puts out a tweet of the Dumb and Dumber. Jim Carrey, I forgot who else it was. You understand?
Great movie, by the way.
Ostensibly talking about the coaches, even though he later on denied it because he didn't want to get himself in trouble. So you got Courtney Lee at $50 million. You got Joakim Noah at $72 million. You got Melo, who you hoodwinked into, talking about we're going to compete, we're going to re-sign you for the $122 million. Okay, the only thing Phil Jackson has done right is bring Kristaps Porzingis with the number 4 overall pick. And that was after he lied to New Yorkers by saying he was going to compete, only to tank the damn season in his first year as executive, okay? This is a disaster. Phil Jackson is not the guy. Phil Jackson needs to go back to L.A. where he really, really wants to be and call it a day. And Melo needs to move on because the New York Knicks clearly don't have a championship in their immediate future.
Because I have a sober view of how good Carmelo Anthony is, which is very, but not as good as he and others think he is, which is good enough to be the best player on a championship team, which he's never been in his life. But he's an excellent scoring player. Excellent. Because of that, it seems as though I'm anti-Carmelo. Because people have mistakenly rated him in the top 5 too long and then in the top 10 too long, when he's a top 15-ish kind of player, at best. But that's still a tremendous player. And I'm not anti-Carmelo. In fact, as a lifelong, until recently, Knicks fan, and as a New Yorker, I love the fact, as other New Yorkers and Knicks fans will, that Carmelo says, no, I'm all in. This is the greatest city in the world. This is the franchise I want to play for, everything. That buys a lot of loyalty in New York, as you know, Stephen A. Smith. And he's an excellent player. And furthermore, if you want to list how good everyone is at their job, Phil Jackson, the coach, is by far the best at his job. He's not the coach of the team. Take that off the table. Next is Carmelo Anthony, the player, is much better at his job than Phil Jackson, the executive. Much better. So between the two, who should leave first is Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson's the guy who used Tyson Chandler, who actually was a commodity, just to get out of other bad contracts, didn't really get anything back. He's the guy who used Shumpert, who was a commodity, just to get out of the J.R. Smith deal. Both of them wound up helping Cleveland. What did he get back? Yes, he delegated enough responsibility that he allowed his guys to pick Kristaps Porzingis in the draft. Phil deserves some credit for that, but other than that, has done a terrible job. The fact that Carmelo Anthony is now resisting the trade, good for him, it empowers him. Eventually, I hope he does accept the trade. I wonder if that could be, barring a trade to the Cavs, where I'm sure he wants to go, to the Clippers maybe, so he could team with Chris Paul.
Boston.
Or Boston, exactly, who needs an engine like that, an offensive engine to pair with Isaiah Thomas, maybe put them over the top. I especially like the idea of L.A. with Chris Paul, particularly if the Knicks could sweeten the deal and somehow get Blake Griffin out of it. But Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony could maybe be, and you can speak to this more than I, a lure for LeBron James eventually. I wish the best for Carmelo. I hope he wins a championship eventually. I don't mean to appear that I'm against Carmelo. I'm not. I'm pulling for him. Even though I think he's been overrated by many, that's not because he's not excellent. It's because people think he's even more excellent than he is. But he deserves better than what he's getting right now.
He deserves much better than what he's getting. And we don't give Carmelo Anthony enough credit for the class that he has displayed in handling so much of this stuff, because there's constant leaks coming out. You got people talking about him all the time, leaks coming out of the organization and beyond. He don't deserve all of that stuff. Not with the decisions Phil Jackson made. You sit up there and you hire Derek Fisher, then you got Kurt Rambis, and now you pull Jeff Hornacek, who's already alienating players and stuff like that. If you listen to what's coming out of their locker room with the New York tabloids and beyond. And you got a situation, I'd love to see Carmelo Anthony with a real point guard, a big-time point guard, like Chris Paul, not to mention the fact the Skywalker that is DeAndre Jordan, that don't have to be clogged with Blake Griffin down there. I'd love to see Carmelo in that situation, but it'll be the Clippers or Cleveland or Boston. We shall see.
Wouldn't mind seeing Blake with Kristaps Porzingis either, because Porzingis could then play the 5 where he should be.
I don't mind that.
All right, we got to stop dreaming, but we are staying in New York. Up next.